This and That Northwest.
There you go. Rockies. Colorado Rockies. He played for the White Sox in the late 30s, early 40s. They signed him right out of high school. So he started playing in the minor leagues when he was 19 years old, which would have been 1939. And he played for 3 years in their minor league system. He never made it to the majors. The system they had is a little bit different than it is today, but it'd be like AA today. And then, excuse me, 6 months after Pearl Harbor, he got drafted in the Army, and he got his knee injured during the war, and so that ended his career. He told me he wouldn't have made it to the majors anyway because his position was shortstop, and Luke Appling was the shortstop for the White Sox at the time. He's in the Hall of Fame, and then in front of him in the minor leagues was Louis Aparicio, who was also in the major leagues and is also in the Hall of Fame, and then Nellie Fox was a shortstop. But they wanted to bring him up to the majors, but Louis Aparicio was already there, so they made him a second baseman, and he's in the Hall of Fame, so he never would have made it. They had the Denver Bears, and they were the Bears at one time. Then they changed their name to Zephyrs, Denver Zephyrs, because of the train, the Zephyr train. But they were farm clubs for the Yankees. Billy Martin in the 50s, Billy Martin, Mickey Mantle, Roger Marisol came through Denver. They were to AAA before they went to the majors. I mean, I wasn't there then back in the 50s, but this is what people have told me. And then for a while they had the White Sox as part of their, they were affiliated with the White Sox, and then Cincinnati Reds. I'm trying to think who else. Montreal Expos when there was a team in Canada. So, and then in '93 is when we got Major League Baseball. We used to go to games when we were kids, when I was a kid, and he used to teach me all these little fascinating, watch this. I go, how did you know that? Or sometimes he would actually watch the other team and pick up their steal signal. And it was fun going to games with him, so I have a love for baseball. And I've passed that on to my kids and now my grandkids. Because when they were growing up, the same things that my dad told me, I would tell them. I said, now watch this. And they go, how did you know that? And I say, well, Grandpa told me, And so, they've done the same thing with their grandkids, or if I got the grandkids there, I'll say, watch the second baseman. He just before the pitcher throws the ball, he's going to bring his glove up to his mouth. And sure enough, he would do it. And he said, well, how did you know that? So I would, I tell him the strategy and the thinking behind that. My dad would always get a scorecard, and he would, look through it and stuff. And I remember one day in particular in Denver, the Tulsa Oilers were playing, and Dad was looking at the scorecard, and he goes, I think the guy's name was Guiducci. Don't ask me to spell it, but Dad says, I played with a guy named Guiducci, and he was from Joliet also. He was with the Cincinnati Reds, in their minor leagues. And he said he was a catcher, and this guy's a catcher. I wonder if there's any connection. So I told my dad, I said, well, you wait here, I'll go find out. So I walked down to their dugout, and I kind of hung over a little bit. And I said, is Guiducci here? And they said, oh, he's over in the bullpen warming up the starting pitcher. So I went over there, and you can kind of look in, and Guiducci had just thrown the ball back to the pitcher. And I says, are you Guiducci? And he says, yeah. I said, are you from Joliet? And he just stopped, and he looked at me, and he goes, no, but hold on. He says, let me finish warming this guy up. And so he did a few more pitches, and he says, well, why do you ask? And I says, because my dad was in the minor leagues, and he played with a guy that was with Cincinnati, and he was a catcher, and his last name was Guiducci. And the kid looked at me and says, that was my dad. And he said, can you have your dad come down by the dugout? So we went by the dugout before the game. We talked a little bit, and the guy said, we're going to be here for 2 more games after this. Can we have dinner together? So after the game, we went out to have dinner, and my dad asked Gaducci, he says, well, what's your dad doing now? And he says, oh, he's gone. He died when I was real young. He says, I didn't know him that well because during the summer he was playing baseball. And he says, so did you know him that well? My dad says, yeah, I knew him in high school. So he was able to tell stories to this young man and tell stories about his dad that never, just because my dad looked at a lineup card for the team. So, and every once in a while too, when my dad retired, he and Mom during the winter would go to Arizona. And so they would go to the spring training games. And every once in a while he would tell me, he said he would run into somebody that he played for. He'd be sitting there looking at him and he's, I know that guy. And so he'd go in, my dad wasn't shy. He'd go up and say, I think we met before. My name is Steve Burke. And he would, shake his hand and stuff. And he'd go, Steve Burke. My dad says, did you ever play minor league baseball? And he goes, yeah, I did. And then they would figure it out and connect that way. Shortstop, same thing. I didn't have the talent my dad did. I played through high school, but that's as far as I went. My most memorable experience was in a triple play, and that was fun. There was a guy on, the bases were loaded, and there was a guy on third base, and he hit a ball to the second baseman. I thought it was going over his head, so I ran the second base to cover because I figured he'd go out into the outfield, and he actually reached up and caught the ball in his web. And before he even hit the ground, he tossed it over to me. And the guy that had been on second, he kind of started moving toward third. So we got the second out. The guy that had been at third base, he watched him catch it, and then he broke for home plate. And I fired to catcher, and the catcher tagged him as he was sliding in. So it was triple play. It was fun. Nope. My son, he played Little League, but he didn't like it. He didn't like baseball. He doesn't even, once in a while he'll go to the game with me or not, but my 2 daughters, oh my goodness, all I have to do is call them up and, they'll drop anything. And the grandkids too. I got 7 grandkids, they like going. When I was 4 years old, they moved to El Paso, and that's where I grew up. And when I was 16, we went and drove up to Denver to visit an aunt and uncle and stay there for a week. And I fell in love with Colorado. We went fishing, we went hiking. I just really enjoyed it. And if you've ever been in El Paso, there's a lot of tumbleweeds, and in Colorado you got all the trees and everything. And on my way back, I told my parents, that's God's country. I'm moving there. And so it was either 6 months, 9 months out of high school. I left and moved up there, and tell with the gray hair now, I've been there a long time. In 3 days, it'll be 9 months. Just retired 9 months ago. Yeah, I was a financial advisor, and before that, I was an electrician. Changed careers when I was in my 40s. I've always been a math person, so that was important. It feels great. It feels. You wake up in the morning and you've got something planned that you want to do. And the thing is, if you don't finish it, it's not like, oh my God, I got to get this done because I got to go to work tomorrow, or if it's on the weekend on Sunday night, I got to get this done. Now it's like, there's always tomorrow.